A very warm welcome to you. And tell me, how have you been holding up? I know the feeling well. There is excitement and there is pressure because somewhere inside you know that this one examination can shape the entire course of your life. So let us put that energy to work. This is the Sociology Desk, issue 028, the 23rd of June, 2026. Every year, thousands of candidates read the very same newspapers you do, and most cannot turn that reading into marks because they narrate the news instead of theorizing it. You will not make that mistake. 3 events today, and for each one I will give you the concept, the thinker, and the precise way to write it, so your script reaches 18 or 19, while the average candidate stays at 14. Let us begin. First event. In mid-June, the NCERT, the National Council of Educational Research and Training, restored the original Mohenjo-daro Dancing Girl image in its new Class 9 textbook after an earlier edition had shaded over the figurine's bare torso. Do not waste a single line narrating this controversy in your answer. Ask instead, where does it sit in the syllabus? Paper 2, Education and Social Change, with a direct cross-link to Patriarchy in Paper 1. The moment you cross-link 2 papers, the examiner sits up. That is your first advantage over the candidate who treats this as mere current affairs. So, what is the concept, and how do you open? Here is where most candidates go wrong. They begin with a definition of education. Never do that. Begin with a structural claim. A textbook is never neutral. It is a statement of what a society permits its children to know. We call this the hidden curriculum. When a modern textbook covers a 4,500-year-old body, it stamps today's morality onto the deep past. You may be wondering, is one line enough to show this? Yes, if it is the right line. That single sentence tells the examiner you understand that education reproduces the social order, and you have not even named a thinker yet. Now the thinker who anchors this answer, Uma Chakravarti, and her concept of Brahmanical patriarchy from gendering caste. Grasp her argument precisely because a vague version earns nothing. She says caste, class, and patriarchy are not 3 separate systems. They are locked together by one mechanism, the control of women's sexuality. Once you state that, the textbook example fits perfectly, because clothing that figurine is a small act of the very same control. Memorize this and reproduce it in the hall. As Uma Chakravarti argued in Gendering Caste, control over women is never a private matter. It is the central mechanism through which graded hierarchy reproduces itself. The candidate who writes that line scores. The one who writes only that patriarchy is bad does not. Do not stop at one thinker. The high scorer adds a second, and here it is Partha Chatterjee from The Nation and its Fragments. He shows that Indian nationalism settled the women's question by splitting the world into 2 domains. The outer world could be modernized, but the inner, spiritual home had to stay pure, and women were made its guardians. You see the link at once. An institution dressing up an ancient female body is repeating that assignment, the woman as keeper of culture. 2 thinkers welded to one event. That is the distance between a flat answer and a layered one. Now hear me carefully because this is where marks are won or lost. 2 scripts reach the examiner. The 14-mark script narrates, the textbook changed, there was outrage, it was reversed, therefore patriarchy. That is a news report, not sociology. The 19-mark script opens with the structural claim that education reproduces the social order, names Chakravarti and Brahmanical patriarchy with the gendering caste reference, spends only 1 or 2 sentences on the episode as evidence, brings in Chatterjee's inner domain, and closes with an unrebutted caveat that a harmonious surface can hide a deeply unequal order. Notice what the topper did. The event appears for barely 2 sentences. The rest is theory. Build that habit. The event is your evidence, the theory is your destination. Expect the question in this shape, 20 marks, paper 2. Quote, control over female sexuality is the central mechanism through which graded hierarchy reproduces itself. Unquote. In the light of recent debates over textbook content, critically examine. This is a quote-based question, and it punishes the candidate who cannot place its source. You can, because you now hold Chakravarti and the textbook episode. Write this answer tonight, time yourself, and keep the event to 2 sentences. Second event, and the syllabus now jumps to paper 1. On the 14th of June, at Stanford University's graduation, about 200 graduates walked out during a speech by Google's chief executive, Sundar Pichai, protesting Project Nimbus, a $1.2 billion contract to supply cloud and artificial intelligence services to the Israeli government. Locate it at once. Paper 1, Politics and Society, Social Movements, cross-linked to science, technology, and social change. The weak candidate calls this a foreign news item. You will see a live laboratory of social movement theory. Here is the conceptual question the examiner is really asking. Classical theory said, a movement needs an organization, a leader, and a sustained mass base. But at Stanford, there was no central command and no single leader. Coordination ran through digital networks, and the target was a symbolic moment, the graduation stage. So you may be wondering, do the old theories still hold? That doubt is exactly your opening. State the tension plainly. That digital protest strains the classical model, and you have framed a 20 marker in one stroke. The thinker who resolves it is Manuel Castells, and his concept is the network society. From the rise of the network society and communication power, he argues that today's movements run on mass self-communication, many-to-many digital flows that no authority owns. The Stanford walkout is precisely the horizontal, networked movement he predicted. Carry this line in. As Manuel Castells argued, the new social movements are born networked, and they live by switching between the digital world and the street. The candidate who deploys Castells here reads the present. The one who only describes the walkout does not. 2 more thinkers lift this into the top band. Jurgen Habermas and the public sphere. First, a graduation address should be a shared public ritual, but it has become one where the elite speaks and the audience only listens. The walkout turns that passive ritual back into communicative action. Then see Wright Mills and the power elite. Project Nimbus is not a mere contract. It is the corporate, military and academic interlock Mills warned of, now wired through computer code. 3 thinkers, 3 layers. You may worry this is too much for 250 words. It is not, if each thinker gets 1 sharp sentence. Marks again. The 14-mark script says, students protested using social media and stops. Thin. The 19-mark script opens with a claim that digital networks have restructured the very form of collective action. It leads with Castells and mass self-communication, uses the walkout in one tight sentence as the anchor, then layers, Habermas, Mills, and if space allows, Ulrich Beck on the World Risk Society. 4 thinkers, every sentence working, the event compressed to evidence. That compression is the single habit that separates the ranker from the crowd. The event is your evidence, the theory is your destination. The likely question, 20 marks, paper 1. In the light of recent campus protests against corporate and state digital contracts, critically examine the relevance of Castells' network society for contemporary collective action. This is a contemporary application question, and the Commission asks more of these every year. Your anchor is the Stanford walkout. Keep it ready and keep it short on the page. Third event. On the 22nd of June, the government told the Supreme Court that the CBSE, the Central Board of Secondary Education, had notified a fresh evaluation policy for private class 12 students whose exams in 7 Gulf countries were cancelled by the war between Iran and the United States. The formula, 40% from class 10 board theory, 60% from the last class 12 paper attempted. Syllabus location, paper 2, population dynamics, migration, link to education. The ordinary candidate sees an exam logistics story. You will see transnational migration in action. Think structurally and anticipate the examiner. An Indian diaspora child's education is not local at all. The family lives in the Gulf. The school sits in Bahrain or Saudi Arabia. An Indian board conducts the exam, and the certificate is honored back home for admission. The chain crosses borders. It is transnational. When war snaps one link, the home state must improvise a repair. You may ask, is this really sociology and not just policy? It becomes sociology the moment you name the structure. And that is what we do next. Your thinker is Arjun Appadurai, from Modernity at Large, and his tool is the idea of global flows, which he calls scapes. He names 5 ethnoscapes of people: mediascapes, technoscapes, financescapes, and ideoscapes. And his crucial point is that they are disjunctive. They do not move together. So when war ruptures the examination flow, the credential flow must be restitched by a formula. The 40-60 rule is that stitch. State it like this, and a dry notification becomes a sophisticated answer the average candidate could never have written. How it scores. The 14-mark script narrates the war, the cancelled exams, and the formula. Predictable. The 19-mark script opens by saying, Diaspora educational biographies are transnational constructions. Brings in Appadurai and disjunctive scapes, cites the notification and the 40-60 formula in one sentence as evidence, and closes with Anthony Giddens, whose concept of disembedding explains why standardized credentials matter and why a crisis forces the state to re-embed trust. That second thinker at the close, Giddens, is frequently the line that carries you from 15 to 19. Most candidates never reach for it. You will. Probable question. 20 marks. Paper 2. Quote, migration is no longer a one-time event, but a continuous structuring of family, education, and citizenship. Unquote. Discuss with reference to the Indian diaspora in West Asia. Your living evidence is the CBSE episode of 2026. See how one current example makes an abstract quote concrete and answerable in 250 disciplined words. Revise with me quickly. 1. Chakravarti and Brahmanical Patriarchy for textbooks, education, and gender. 2. Castells and the Network Society for digital protest and big technology. 3. Mills and the Power Elite for the corporate, military, and academic interlock. 4. Appadurai and disjunctive scapes for diaspora and migration. And the one rule that decides your rank every single time. The candidate who merely narrates current affairs scores 14. The candidate who treats the event as evidence and makes the theory the destination scores 19. Be the second candidate. That brings us to the end of today's brief. Now, everything I have given you here is the thinking. If you want the full weapon, the complete answer block for each of these events, the model answer written out, the answer skeleton, the quotation arsenal, the flashcards, and the examiner notes that is prepared for you every single day, and it goes only to our subscribers. Here is how to get it. Comment on this video and write your email in the comment. Once your email is there, you will receive a reply with the subscription link. Let me be honest with you, it is a paid subscription, and it is paid for a reason, because of the quality, the edge, and the competitive advantage it gives you over candidates who are still struggling to connect current affairs with theory. I wish you all the very best with your preparation. And remember this today, the journey is long and it will drain you, but momentum is everything. The aspirant who shows up every single day, even when tired, is the one who is quietly winning. I will see you tomorrow.